In a world where there are too many comic books to keep up with, one podcast has the stones to bring you all of your comic book needs, week by week, book by book. One epic show. You are now tuned in to Nerd Church Radio.
Hello, and welcome to your focus episode of NCR DC Comics. I'm your host, Ben Dupay, and joining me on the panel tonight is everyone's favorite Chicago Cubs fan, Mr. Justin Taylor.
Hello.
Yep, and our in-house Wonder Woman expert, Mr. Noah O'Toole.
Hello.
And we are your holy trinity of comic book overlords tonight. This week we will be focusing on Trinity number 3. And that's
number 4.
Number 4.
Yep.
Number 4. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. It seems like it should. Yeah. Maybe just because of the word Trinity, I thought.
Right. Absolutely.
My mind just goes to 3. So, first off, before we get started, I do want to let everyone know that we're going to be moving our Indie Tuesdays show to a new channel. That channel is called Indie Comic Ninja. We're going to keep this channel strictly DC Comics. So if you want to locate that show, you can do so by going to our your podcast engine of choice and just typing in Indie Comic Ninja. And starting next Tuesday, that's where we'll be broadcasting from. And then the only non-DC show we're going to have on this channel is the History of Comics show that we're going to be doing. And that's just going to be because it's a monthly show that we're doing. So it's not really going to be crowding anyone's feed too bad. It's just a once-a-month thing. So also, if you want to contact us, you can do so at nerdchurchradio@gmail.com or by visiting our website at www.nerdchurchradio.com. There we have written reviews and previews for comic books and all sorts of fun goodies, so just go check it out. And then lastly, we do have a Patreon where you can donate to us if you feel the need. We do have rewards for donation. First off, we have a weekly show called Sunday School where we focus on a character from that week's comic book and go at length and sometimes ad nauseum about the history of that character. This is an exclusive show that's only available to our patrons. So this week we'll be covering Amanda Waller to kind of kick off the Justice League Suicide Squad event that's happening. So don't miss out. Head on over to patreon.com/nerdchurchradio and get access to that show for as little as $1 per month. So all that being said, what do we think of the book this week?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah?
Yep, we knew I kind of would, though, because they've been taking turns kind of focusing on past memories of the Trinity. They started out with Superman, then went Batman. Of course, this time we get Wonder Woman, so... I, of course, liked it better than the last couple issues, but overall it contributed, to the whole story arc, and we had a couple big reveals, which I'm sure we'll touch on. So I overall liked it. I think this is a great book, and everybody should read it.
Yeah. What about you? Overall thoughts, Justin?
Well, I played catch-up this week and read the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th issue. I was a real big fan of the Superman issue. I'm not so much of the Batman issue, even though I tend to be a Batman kind of guy.
Right.
And then this issue was just phenomenal.
I thought so too, man. I really did. I really enjoyed the trip to the Mascara. I thought there were some reveals that I hope they're going to explore a little further in their own separate series, So that being said, we'll kick things off and just kind of go over what happened in the issue. We have Trinity number 4. Story by Francis Manapul and Emanuela Lupacchino, and art by Ray McCarthy. So the way I'm going to kind of do this a little bit differently than we normally do. Instead of just recapping the entire issue, I'll just kind of go a little bit at a time, and we can sort of talk about what we thought about the story, or that part of the story or whatever.
Right.
So we kind of open things up, and Wonder Woman's telling herself that none of this is real, and it's getting, as they're going into the Mascara, they're the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, they're kind of sailing into the Mascara, and her inner monologue is telling telling herself that none of this is real, but it's kind of getting harder and harder for her to do that as she gets closer and closer to the mascara. And part of that is because like the with the things going on in the Wonder Woman story, she has kind of a weird thing going on with the mascara where she doesn't know if it's real, and it's just this is not the first fake mascara that she's dealt with in DC Rebirth. So right. Anything offhand for this other than the fact that just the artwork is beautiful, and this double splash page just really, really cool looking. Any thoughts on this, you guys?
I think it's a nice contrast to the previous two issues where Superman definitely thought it's real, and nothing could convince him otherwise. Same thing with Batman in the issue that takes place in the fake Gotham.
Right.
So I think it's good. It's nice. It's consistent, and it's her take on the whole thing, and we've seen their takes on it not being real. Right. So it's nice to see her take on it.
Yeah, I agree. I was especially agree with the part about it being consistent, like they've learned throughout their past issues that it's not real. They're in some sort of a hallucination. Yet, she points out they can control it, so they're kind of self-aware of their situation at this point, and it plays into that, which is good writing, I think, because sometimes they can get super inconsistent, but so far, I agree. So then we move on, and Bats and Diana and Soups get greeted by a bunch of kind of mean Amazons who want to send them packing. They're just like, y'all need to just turn around and get out of here because we're this is not the place to be. But Wonder Woman kind of introduces herself as the daughter of, what's Wonder Woman's name? Hippolyta.
Hippolyta is her mother's name, yeah. And they're kind of getting the rough treatment from the Amazons when suddenly New 52 Wonder Woman shows up. Is that correct? Is that who this is?
I didn't necessarily take it as any one particular version of her, just more as Wonder Woman. She was a figment of Wonder Woman's imagination. It was kind of how she perhaps sees herself as a child. None of the armor really matches up exactly to anything else she's previously worn. So okay. I think it's kind of a new vision of herself, in this alternate reality.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it just kind of reminded me. I always felt like the New 52 Wonder Woman looked a little bit younger than.
Well, especially when David Finch was drawing, but he just has a habit of drawing young-looking, doe-eyed girls. Right, that's just his style a little bit. And the younger version of her did kind of resemble how he draws his women, but I think that's just coincidental. I think this is just supposed to be her younger, like we saw younger versions of Bruce and Clark and stuff.
Right, and it was Bruce's mind, contorted things. Mm-hmm. Specific to his scenario. Okay. I completely agree with Noah that this is more of how she remembers.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't really catch that, but that makes total sense. So, back in real life, in the garage of Clark Kent or Clark Smith or whatever. Yeah. Poison Ivy is doing her thing and just kind of like keeping him in a dream state. The Trinity and. Lois crashes through the garage and just totally. And actually, I find it interesting here because Poison Ivy saves John. She pushes him out of the way.
Yeah, this got me excited. Well, because we've kind of only recently revealed that Poison Ivy was behind the comatose state of the Trinity,
right?
And somehow responsible for the visions they're seeing. And then she kidnapped John too because he went out to kind of find Clark. Yeah, if I remember right. And
he tried to break into the garage and he got in and
and then at the end of the last issue, I believe we see this part where Lois comes crashing through and she's like, "Poison Ivy, get off my son."
Yeah.
And then so I thought it was super awesome. I loved that they have her kind of in her classic outfit with the green tights and the leaf whatever, just the classic outfit. And she saved John. She pushed him out of the way, so that kind of has me double thinking a lot of a lot of things, which
yeah,
we'll get to also later in the
well, yeah, I'm
issue.
wondering what are like her motivations are, because this is really the only exposition we get on that part of the story. Justin, do you have thoughts on that?
Reading all three, 2, 3, and 4 back to back, and I went right one after the other. I definitely got the feeling that she's not the one behind it. She's doing the henchman kind of thing,
right?
Yeah,
which is typical.
Right.
It happens. There's usually another mastermind, and I think that's what we're gonna see. But I definitely think for this arc,
Yeah,
she's the villain.
yeah,
right. And yep. And I have thoughts, but I'll wait till we get to a different part of the story before I bring it up. Okay.
Okay, good. So then we jump back to the Mascara. And let me see where we at here. So back in the Mascara, the team is undergoing like trials to determine if they're worthy to hang out in the Mascara. Turns out that Wonder Woman totally is worthy to hang out in the Mascara. Go figure. But then Bruce and Clark totally aren't. Go figure. That's like, who'd have thought that two guys aren't really worthy to hang out in the Mascara. I did like the call out to the trials, though, just because that's kind of a little shout out to Wonder Woman's origin and stuff. I did think that they didn't really like give you too much on the trials. Like it was like she shot an arrow and you see Batman fighting with an Amazon, and then suddenly the trials are over. So I kind of thought that maybe it would be cooler to get like a double splash page of them fighting some Amazons. I really wanted to see like Soups fighting an Amazon, because you don't see that every day.
Yeah, that's true. I do agree that, because as I've said before, the contest, the trials of the Amazons, I think they were, kind of doing a play on, the contest again with proving, who goes. And you do see it's kind of hard to see on the digital one, but Superman is pushing a boulder up a hill. It reminds me of Sisyphus, where he had to push the boulder up the hill.
I missed that.
And then Diana shoots and gets the arrow that splits the other arrows, and then Batman wins combat with the other Amazon. So they show, one of each of them doing, trials. But I agree. I would have loved to see more of the contest, because that's fun. I would have loved to see them each on kangaroos, jousting or something. But
absolutely, I would love to see, like, I don't know, that would just be cool, especially seeing like bats fighting in Amazon too. I mean, I don't know, it would just be cool to get like a little sequence for all three of them.
He's so good at hand-to-hand combat. It would show the strength of his fighting ability.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it the way it was, just because there's the scene in issue 2 where they're like, how did we get in our costumes? Let's keep going, and things would just skip as if they were in a dream sequence. So I thought that was kind of neat to just
a brief
get a very brief once over,
right?
But no, it would have been really cool to see more of it.
Yeah, but also Superman and Batman did prove themselves worthy. They fought valiantly in the contest or whatever Hippolyta said, but just the fact that they're men, they're not allowed to stay on the island, so they're damned, which I think isn't necessarily reflective of Hippolyta or the Amazon's views, but it's part of how this journey is supposed to go.
It's just how they're destined to go throughout this journey.
Right, they're meant to go into the underworld, or which we see.
Yep, and that brings us to Hippolyta tells Wonder Woman, which, by the way, just out of curiosity, hold on, because I notice here that the first Hippolyta we see on page 6, it looks like she's wearing kind of like the Trojan helmet. So I guess it just looked like a different version of Hippolyta than the version we see on page 9.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I did check out her versus the one we saw in the early issues of Wonder Woman.
Right.
And I was really impressed with them because they did match at least what's real in continuity right now.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
It's
good.
the exact same, she's known for the purple robes and the dark hair and
sure.
So
okay, cool. So then they do the trials, they all succeed, but Hippolyta tells Diana, the real life Diana, that you're worthy. Unfortunately, your dude friends aren't. They just not in the cards. So we're gonna have them go to the Dark Quarters, which is apparently like a death sentence. It's like out of luck, sorry. And Wonder Woman's not having it. She's like, no, I'm going to go with them. Sorry, I'm not going to stay here. So they kind of get, taken down this spooky long, cave way or whatever, and the Trinity are up front and center, where a white figure is going to, take them on a raft, to the dark quarters. So they get on the raft, and then last page in this sequence shows Kid Wonder Woman just kind of jumping
making a leap onto the raft. Yeah,
rascal, man, just out of nowhere, she's a firecracker. Yeah. So what's the deal with this, the dark quarters and the white cloaked figure? Well, do you know much about this?
Yeah, I mean, I have a theory on to what I assume it is. In most previous versions of Themyscira and Paradise Island, it holds the gates to Tartarus, which is hell, basically, the underworld.
Okay.
Where Hades rules, and the Amazons are pretty much in charge of guarding the gates of hell, essentially the gates of Tartarus.
Okay.
And in Greek mythology, to get to Tartarus, you have to take the river Styx and pay a fee to Charon, who is a ghostly hooded figure and guides you on a raft to the underworld. So I think they're basically getting sent to the underworld, or hell, or banished, or the dark place, as the Amazons are calling it. I don't think, and they're basically going down the river Styx right now.
Okay.
to the underworld.
Tartarus is a place then.
In Greek mythology, real Greek mythology, Tartarus is hell.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. And it's ruled by Hades, which is the god of hell,
right.
brother of Zeus and Poseidon.
Okay. Cool. Next up, this is kind of cool because, Kid Wonder Woman jumps on the raft with the Trinity, and real Wonder Woman helps her up. Kid Wonder Woman pulls out her lasso of truth, and we get this moment where they're like. Dan, I'm sure this is the one you want to tackle. Do you want to? Yeah.
Oh, actually, it wasn't, but I do think it was a beautiful scene. I loved it. The last.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought this was going to be one of the sort of things or it's something I feel like is going to be called out eventually.
Oh, do you?
Well, just because I don't know. It feels like she's getting some answers to this whole the lies thing that she's been dealing with in her own title, where she wraps the lasso of truth around her younger self, and it's almost like she's in her subconscious right now, so it's almost like she's getting some answers just through her subconscious.
Right. I almost sort of took it as she was sharing what's real with her younger self, so that her younger self knew what was going on right now.
Oh yeah, that's true as well. Yeah,
but it could go.
Yeah, I think the only sort of problem there with my theory that I see is connecting something from Trinity to the Wonder Woman stories. It's well, what if people aren't reading the Trinity? I don't know if they would necessarily go that route, but they did give a nod out, which is coming up in a little bit, to something that happened in her arc, though. So did they really? Okay, cool.
I caught a little Easter egg, so I'm sure we'll touch on that here when we
get to it. So anyway, we get that cool, and by the way, beautifully drawn page of the lasso and them kind of with their heads against each other, kind of uniting or whatever, and it's just
the flow of the cape and the lasso. It was just very well drawn.
Yeah, man, and that's whether you like this, I didn't like last week's story at all, or not last week, but last issue of Trinity. I wasn't a huge fan of the story. The artwork is kind of what's saved it from a purgatory for me, just offhand. So
the
artwork's just been wonderful. So anyway, we get that, and then so the four of them are on this boat together, and suddenly this just giant snake dragon monster comes out of nowhere and eats them. And
actually, before there, it looks like it's a two-page splash. The portion where they've got the lasso wrapped around, and if you look, one frame has Pa Kent in it.
Oh, I noticed.
And another one has the
Bruce's
Waynes
parents,
in it.
Yep. In the river
water.
Styx. which is filled with the souls of the dead.
Yeah,
so
which is kind of
wow.
cool because at one point in this, this section, they're talking about how this world was built for us to understand each other, which is kind of cool that they, it's all tying together at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that I did not see that. Good job on attention to detail for that one.
I spotted, Pa Kent, but at first I thought it looked like Gordon, and I had to look a little bit closer, and I'm like, oh.
See, I instantly noticed Bruce's parents because of the pearls.
Yep.
You just can't have, you just can't have Martha Wayne without the broken pearls. How many times we're gonna have to see those damn things drop?
I know, man. Jeez, I'm kind of
every Batman movie.
I know, man. And that's one thing, not to go on a Marvel thing, but it's like that's one thing that I feel like Marvel does right is like, with the Spider-Man thing, we're not getting that
dead Uncle Ben every time.
No one needs, and me having my name is Ben, I really am grateful to not have that story retold because I became an uncle for the first time this year, and it's the fucking jokes never end, man. They just go on forever. So anyway, they get swallowed up by this giant, really badass looking, like
super badass.
Oh my gosh!
Was great. Speaking of great art panels, that was awesome.
This is like tattoo level. Like I would get a tattoo of this thing. That would be really actually a cool tattoo. But yeah, I love tattoos. So anyway, they get swallowed up by this giant like snake monster thing, and it's just totally awesome. And in the belly of this snake are more snakes. Awesome. So and Indiana Jones is just chilling in the corner back there. No,
exactly. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
So then Kid Wonder Woman disappears, right? Yeah. And I guess like she left behind a sword, and this kind of got lost for me, but I kind of give it a break because it's like, well, it's all a man. None of it's real, Mm-hmm. It's like most of the holes in this are intentional. That's why they're there.
Right. See, right here is where I'm getting in some holes too, where I think I'm like, oh, wait, did I miss something? I'm like, no, I bet this is intentional. I bet we'll find out.
Well, yeah, or I mean, it's possible that Kid Wonder Woman just disappeared, and that's just they're in a dream right now.
Well, no, I think that was part of it because I also really enjoyed that when the snake or serpent or whatever it was trying to eat them. The Kid Wonder Woman said, the Kid Diana said, "I know this sounds crazy or something, but this is part of the journey, or this is how we get to our destination, or something along those lines." So, she, led them into that. So that was again all part of the journey. They were meant to be there. This was the part I was going to point out when they're in the thing with all the snakes, and Wonder Woman's going for the sword. She says, "These serpents will not have her nor me, never again." And it was that never again, which struck me as being very important because it was a serpent, which I think was a serpent of Ares that bit her from that tree.
Oh, okay.
That appeared in Themyscira, way back when she was a young Amazon in year one, right? Yep. And so serpents and Ares and all that are I think very figurative to her story and
symbolism,
right. So I think that's kind of why there's all these snakes and it was a serpent, and she mentions again. So I think that ties her to her current continuity.
Well, I think this portion of the story is more important than the other two, just because of the fact that we're getting a Wonder Woman Year One story in DC Rebirth right now. We aren't necessarily getting a Batman or Superman story, so Year One story. So a lot of this stuff relates to what's currently going on, and I don't know if it's anything that'll end up in anything or whatever,
right?
But I do know that it's just cool to see. It's cool that they're making those connections and whatever.
It all fits, even if they don't do much else to it. Just the fact that they have their continuity straight is impressive to me because that doesn't always happen when you jump from character to character that's in multiple books.
Yeah.
Another thing I wondered though, quick, did you happen to notice when they're in the belly? Batman says,
what Bruce is saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I have something to tell you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? He's for the listeners. He says, "Diana, your language was hard to decipher, but I heard some Indo-European undertones and some Afro-Asiatic," and starts going on. But who the hell cares? Is my first thought. But why would he say that if it didn't mean something?
Yeah, it's like detective work that he's deciphered something. What do you think?
Well, and it may lead into the Wonder Woman solo book. It may be something for the next, this the truth. Is it the truth?
Yeah,
the arc that's coming up.
Yeah,
it might be one of the keys to that. They're doing a really good job of intertwining this book from what I've seen and the solo books, and definitely having things happen in both of them that affect the other.
Yeah.
Before we get to the final panel, this is where I'll point out one of the big things I think is going to happen. I don't think Poison Ivy is a bad guy in this at all. I think she somehow knows what's coming in the final panel and has, in her own way, tried to help by kidnapping the Trinity and putting them in a hallucinogenic, dreamlike state to get them to work together so that when the attack inevitably comes, they're ready, because on the final page, they cut themselves out of the belly of the snake, and there before them is Mongol.
First time that Mongols appeared in DC Rebirth. All I know about Mongol is what I've seen in Young Justice. So I know very little about him. Justin, do you know much about Mongol?
Oh yeah, he was the ruler of Warworld.
Warworld. He has his own planet-sized ship.
Yeah, he's partially responsible for the destruction of Coast City,
which is what drove
Hal Jordan insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that pre-New 52 or New 52?
Oh,
Pre-New 52.
That was 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In
cool.
fact, it was during Return of the Superman.
Oh, okay.
Or
cool.
Superman.
Return of Superman. Yep.
During that.
The Cyborg Superman was heavily involved in that whole thing, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. That's cool.
He also later then became a Sinestro Corps member.
Mongol did.
Yep. And,
really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because the Green Lanterns can't affect him because he's
yellow.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And he actually then later fought Kyle, who didn't have a weakness to yellow, and was defeated by him because he planned on using yellow against him. But he was a Sinestro Corps member for a long time, and he caused a accident in a ship that killed a pilot's husband, and then the pilot became the first recruit for the Star Sapphires, Miri Ram, and then that started the war of light and blackest night and all that.
Okay.
But then the New 52, he was rebooted, as far as I know, without any connection to the Yellow Lanterns, and is just a warlord again.
Yeah, and I know as of at least the beginning of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, he's not on Warworld anymore because Sinestro has it.
Oh.
That was where he was housing the Parallax symbiote.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I don't know anything in between.
Right.
So it'd be really interesting to find out.
Yeah, his classic origin is a warlord, and he kidnapped his planet. His war machine thing is powered by slaves, and he would make them fight in gladiator fights. And so he kidnapped Superman, and took him to be the ultimate gladiator. And of course, Superman defeats him, and that kind of was the classic Mongol story. But you just know when he comes, you're looking at like a Doomsday or Darkseid level brawl.
That's one thing I was about to ask both of you is, if we had to compare him to Darkseid, who's more powerful, you think?
I'd say Darkseid, yeah.
Darkseid?
Yeah, but he's
close second.
But
up there.
When you're looking at, the very powerful, you need more than one person probably to take him down. Villains in the DCU, especially in the cosmic stuff, he is one of them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is right up there with Darkseid. With
So it's kind of like almost if you were to compare it comparatively to
Doomsday.
Marvel, like you have Thanos and then you have Apocalypse, like maybe something
I would
like
say
that.
probably closer
More
to Apocalypse.
Oh, see, I was going to go Thanos.
right.
but-
Thanos is definitely Darkseid.
well, Thanos is based off of
Well, yeah, no, that's why
Darkseid, but I think that I know it's tough,
that's what I meant was like Thanos is dark side and and Mongol is Apocalypse. Mongol is
power
Apocalypse.
level wise, I'd probably agree.
Right, sure.
Just comparatively in terms of like a step down or whatever, But they're both super bad. And I mean, and Young Justice. I mean, that was you've watched Young Justice, I know. Have you?
I have not.
Oh man, you got to.
I will add it to my long list of stuff I need to watch.
I will say my favorite Mongol meteor or whatever you want to call it. Do you guys watch Justice League Unlimited?
No, I have not watched that.
Where he is voiced by Powers Booth.
Oh, I forgot that.
Powers Booth.
Yeah.
There's an episode called For the Man Who Has Everything, and it's adopted from a comic storyline, but it's Superman's birthday. And Batman and Wonder Woman go to the Fortress of Solitude to, have a surprise party for Superman, and they're like, how do you surprise a guy that has super hearing? Which was cracking me up. But anyway, they get their Mongol attacks, and
oh wow,
it was a good episode.
I've never seen that show before, so
you'd like it. It's pretty good.
It's very, very good.
Is it better than Young Justice, you think, or about the same? Probably.
I like it better in a different way. It's slightly more cartoony, but you get there's hundreds of characters in it.
Yeah.
Unlimited is really good because you get to see so many characters from the DCU.
Bwana Beast pops up every once in a while, or like people you just don't even think of.
Yeah, you get Vigilante, and not the Vigilante that's currently on Arrow.
Okay.
No, the old Western Vigilante,
Shining Knight.
I don't know anything about that Vigilante, so
he is literally a vigilante.
That's
like
just
that.
Straight up.
He has no powers.
He's from the Jonah Hex type.
Yeah.
Is he like rich or poor or just average Joe kind of guy?
I think he's just an average Western.
That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. I like that a lot. So, cool. Well, so Mongol shows up at the very end. Oh, my dear daughter, I'm ever so proud you brought me not just one present, but 3, and Mongol's daughter. So what, Mongol's daughter, what's the deal with this?
I'm not sure. There's been other Mongols throughout continuity when they've, tried to keep it consistent. There's, one Mongol was killed, so then there's been, Mongol 2, which is, he calls himself Mongol, so it looks just the same, but technically it's his son.
Right.
And there's also been a female Mongol that's a sister.
Okay.
As far as I know, she only appeared once and was in a fight with her, or not appeared once, just in one issue necessarily, but throughout one story arc, but she was killed by her brother because he wanted to be the sole ruler. So yeah, I wondered that too, and I wonder, are they still in a hallucination?
Yes, I believe they are. Yeah.
And so then is
my I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, so that's where my questions arise. I feel like Poison Ivy wouldn't have been so helpful as to not to hurt John and to save him from the truck and to because this hallucination was helpful. I mean, it brought them together better. It wasn't in any way really super trialsome. You know what I mean? I mean, they didn't die
didn't cause any problems. I really think that next issue we're gonna get some exposition. So the next issue, half the issue, I think this is my why can't I think of the word? My
theory?
My prediction.
Prediction? Okay.
Yes, my prediction of what's going to happen. Wow, I'm tired. Of what's going to happen next issue. The first half of the issue is going to be Poison Ivy development, where we get some answers as to what's going on. I think the second half of the issue is going to be them working their way out of the trance, and I think the final issue of this series is going to be like a big boss battle with them and Mongol, probably. Where it's just like. It's going to be like an all-out fight or whatever. That's what I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it'll go something like that. I think we're going to actually see that Mongol is using Poison Ivy as a henchman, like you said, but she knows what's coming and is doing this behind his back. Like, he thinks she's got them captive for him, but she's really, helping them see what's about to happen. So I think she'll end up working with them to destroy Mongol. But I definitely bet we'll have a fight with Mongol in next issue. And I do think Lois Lane and Poison Ivy will team up and help.
You think?
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool to see. Honestly, one thing popped into my mind because it's a quote unquote dream sequence and Mongol's in there. I actually thought like the first person that popped into my mind as the actual overall villain was Despero, who has mind control powers and everything. Mm-hmm. So that was. I think it'd be kind of cool if this was just the first part of a overarching story that goes through different stories.
Despero is in Death of Hawkman right now as well.
Oh, is he?
Yep. You actually showed me that too at the comic shop.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, who is this big red guy? And like, I showed you a panel and you're like, oh, that's Despero. You told me all about him. He's a really cool villain.
He is. Yeah. And he's one of the few that has that ability, those mind abilities. Control, right. And that is, there's actually a story that I've read. It's been a long time, but Mongol and Despero and several of the cosmic villains team up. And it's against the JLA.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's part of the reason that I thought of that. There's another one where Despero teams up with several of the JSA villains, and they do a dream sequence type story as well. So that's why that's part of the reason that popped in my mind.
Right.
But that's probably a little far fetched.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely matches. My only question is, would they introduce another, biggie in that?
Yeah,
that quickly. I feel like the setup for Mongol would be a
pretty big setup. Yeah, you don't set up Mongol, I feel like, and then just toss him to the side. I feel
for a batter.
Yeah. Like, that was a big reveal to me to see Mongol. I was like, whoa, okay. Because, I mean, that's the first time you see him, like, at all.
Right.
And Darkseid's dead right now, too. So, or the Darkseid we know. That's not to say that there's not another one lurking around there. Yeah. The Dr. Manhattan is left alive or whatever is going on, so... first off, so we're going to rate this book. We do have a rating system where we rate and review the comic books that we love. Going to have Gideon explain our rating system to you so you know what we're talking about. Take him to church, Gideon.
If a comic book is bad, we rate it as blasphemy. If the book is good, we give our blessing. If the book is not bad, not good, but just kind of meh, we rate it as stuck in purgatory. If the book is great, we rate it as holy. And if a comic book exceeds all standards of awesomeness, we rate that book as salvation.
All right, so who wants to rate this one first?
Oh, I'll go first. It was a holy for me. Yep,
solid holy.
Yep. Yeah. The story arc in general, like we were talking about last one, faltered a little bit. I kind of factored that in, but even when you factor that in, then the other two issues and this one, plus everything else is holy. I just think it's a good Trinity story, and like I said earlier, if you're not reading it, pick it up. It's only 4 issues in too, so it's like, what a better time to jump on a book,
So, Justin, what would you rate it?
I would actually go with a high blessing. I want to see how this finishes off. Before I give a full, because individual issues will falter, but I like to think of it on the story arc, just since I read it almost all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a very good book. It's a very good story, but I want to see how it finishes off, because sometimes that can ding the rest of the story.
Yeah, man, you can have a build up sometimes, and it's like at the end you're like, what the hell, man? Like this, an ending can either save a book and make it amazing, or it can totally knock it down a rating.
Yeah, that happened to me in Blackest Night.
Oh, really?
I love the first 6 issues. And then issue 7 hits, and
you're talking about the main Blackest Night story.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
I was looking forward to a Sinestro redemption story.
Oh okay.
And they teased it all the way through, and then they denied it. And I was like, oh, that was rough.
Him becoming a White Lantern and all that. Okay, yeah.
You may be getting a little bit of that in Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps right currently. So There's some pretty interesting stuff happening with Sinestro, although he hasn't popped back up yet, but he's not far away. I know he's going to come. So, yeah, I would give this one definitely a holy. I think I think this issue for sure a solid holy. I think the story as a whole maybe a low holy because there has been an issue that was kind of off, but this issue alone, just in terms of where I'm at with the Wonder Woman story arc and how much I'm loving that,
right,
this just kind of called out to that. And even if it's just Easter eggs that don't really end up with much, it still just made me smile. Like it was just kind of fun. So do you guys think Trinity is going to continue going on for a long time, or do you think this is going to be like a finite ending type thing?
Boy, I don't know. I never try to get my hopes up too much because I have a bad history. Just all my books I like end up getting canceled at some point or another. But I can almost be said of any book that isn't one of the major characters. But no, I think and hope it'll go on for a long time. It has the benefit of having the big three as its sole stars.
That's true.
And they've got such a big fan base. Batman right now, especially, but I mean, Superman and Wonder Woman are both equally as huge in their own right. So,
yeah,
I think if it keeps being good and this art keeps staying consistent, that people will still keep reading it, hopefully, and then they'll keep publishing it.
I honestly, man, I feel like sales on this thing, like. If Justice League is getting sales right now, this thing probably this should get sales because Justice League is not a good comic right now, and its sales are not down at all. Just because the title name is Justice League,
right.
But that's an issue for a story for another time, as Maz Kanata would say.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think finite ending, Justin, or
no? I think as long as they keep a solid storytelling style and solid artwork, it'll keep going. This is not the first Trinity book we've had. There was one pre-52, and it was actually a weekly book.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been some successful just Trinity stories throughout the year in purposeful mini series and other times, like this one, ongoing. So
yeah, and I even think if they have a bad story arc, I think it's still going to keep going. You got the big three, and most of the time, any book that's got Batman in it is in the top 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And that can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, depending on what the issue is. Because it's like, there's certain times where it's like, man, I wish this book would go away. Like, or they just change. Justice League's never going to go away, but you want them to change things up a little bit, It's like, it's going to happen eventually. The sad part about it is, too, a lot of the time, the comics that we're reading were written like 6 months ago, so that you're at least 6 months away from getting any type of change.
Right.
And then that person has been writing for that 6 months too, so it's like really like a year of comics where it's like any lasting change based on sales numbers takes a while to actually take effect and stuff. So yeah. So speaking of Trinity, we kind of did you guys do the game thing this week?
Yep.
Yeah, build our own Trinity.
Build your own Trinity.
Not involving the original Trinity. No Wonder Woman, Justin. Or Noah. Sorry, I'm always mixing names up. Yeah, sorry.
All good.
So no Wonder Woman, no Batman, no Superman. Just what would we choose for a Trinity and why?
Yep.
Who wants to go first? Yeah, anyone?
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. Fine. All right.
Yep.
So I went with I didn't write mine down too, so that way if I have like a great idea, you guys have the same great idea. You won't think everybody's like, oh, you copied. No, I'm just kidding. We can
just solicit it to DC.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I wanted to pick three people that kind of exhibited the same dynamic as the Trinity power-wise, and also I wanted to stick with people that were from the Golden and Silver Age, that have some teeth into comic book history, so to speak,
nice.
And deserve to be kind of thought of first. So
I'll give you a hint, man. You put way more thought into this than I did. So yeah.
All right. Well,
no, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Though,
it's fun. I like stuff like this. So,
yeah.
My first pick is Billy Bastion, aka Captain Marvel.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, he's basically as powerful as Superman.
Yeah.
But he's got a magic base like Wonder Woman.
Uh-huh.
And trivia, dude. he says the word Shazam to turn from Billy Bastion into Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Do you know what Shazam stands for? It's how he gets his powers.
No, is that like an acronym for
Yep.
something?
Yep.
Oh no, Justin, do you know?
The Wisdom of Solomon.
Solomon, yep. H. Strong.
It's Hercules.
Hercules, yep.
And then it's oh boy, I don't know all
Carried a
of them.
globe on his back.
Atlas.
Z is the king of the gods.
Zeus.
A is known for his bad heel.
Achilles.
Achilles.
And Mercury.
Mercury, yep.
Wow, that is awesome, man. That's really cool.
So this is just Shazam, and plus he's like one of the OG heroes.
Oh yeah,
and he outsold Superman back in the day.
Yeah, in fact, he was one of the first superheroes even before Superman.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I watched. Yeah, I did watch the first documentary. What's it called?
Superheroes: A Never-Ending Battle.
Yeah, and so I watched. There's 3 parts,
Right?
And I watched the first part, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. They talked about him a little bit.
Yeah, I actually watched the history of DC Comics last night, and they talk about him at the very beginning too.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
So pick him. Then my next pick is Black Canary.
Black Canary.
Yep. She was actually originally induced in a Flash comic book from the actually I can't remember if it's the Silver or the Golden Age. I should have wrote that down, but a very old. It was got to be Golden Age because I think it was a Jay Garrick comic. But anyway, I picked her kind of because she is a fighter. She's one of the best fighters in the DC universe, and her and Batman sparring, which happens occasionally, is some of the most fun things to watch just because it's fun to watch heroes who like fighting, even if it's whatever. So and plus, so she's got the fighting as Batman and skills is kind of based out of Gotham a lot, with the birds of prey and things like that. And then she's got her canary cry instead of gadgets and things. So and other than Wonder Woman, she was DC's first female, second basically big female character. And then my third pick is another female character that's often second fiddle, but was introduced in the 60s, 65, I think, and it's Mira. She kind of takes the place of Wonder Woman as kind of a Atlantean princess queen, and she's incredibly strong. She's as strong as Aquaman, and she also kind of has a lanternish ability by being able to do hard water constructs. Instead of, like Green Lanterns can make their constructs, and she can turn water into hard constructs of anything and control it, basically. And Aquaman, for as much as cool as he is and powerful as he is, he can communicate with the fish, but he can't control water, And there was a cool, when Jeff Johns was writing Aquaman in the New 52, there was a great scene where some guy had this woman hostage, and Mira drew the water out of his body until he was like so dehydrated he couldn't even whatever, and it was just super badass, and she's gonna be played by Amber Heard in the upcoming movies, and
yeah, man,
I'm
her
super excited
costume
for
looks
it.
Totally badass. It just she looks great. I did like. There was a version of that photo that someone brightened up a little. They took a syringe and they just extracted all the Zack Snyder out of it.
Right, for sure.
And it looked way cooler. But I don't know. I don't think that it's going to be that grim and dull because Jeff Johns is involved, and I know he loves Aquaman and Mira a lot too. Yeah. So I think we're going to get a real version. Yeah. So Justin, who do you think?
Well, let's see here. We're going to have to go to replace Batman. I would go with Wesley Dodds, who was the original Sandman.
Oh, wow.
The gas mask wearing detective. Because he was a detective. And there's a great series called Sandman Mystery Theater that's very pulpy with him as the focus.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the gadgets and does the detective work.
Yeah.
To replace Wonder Woman, I would have to go with Courtney Whitmore, a.k.a. Stargirl. Just because, the Starman family is close to my heart.
Just JSA, yeah. You're a big fan of the JSA.
I even liked it when she was on the Justice League,
Oh, really? I didn't know she was on the Justice
during
League.
the New 52, she was.
Oh, cool. Okay.
She was, I think she ended up on the Canadian team, which was
I can't remember. I do remember some.
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But we haven't seen her yet in the Rebirth
we will
era
soon,
yet. I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
And to replace Superman, someone that is more powerful than him, but has a easier to get a hold of weakness. All I need is a matchbook.
I debated
to
him
take on Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter,
Yeah. Wow, this is interesting because we have all three of our teams have similar members. So for my team, I chose Martian Manhunter for my Superman replacement because he's a man after my own heart. He loves cookies, and so do I.
I love Martian Manhunter. He doesn't get enough love. Yeah.
The only one I love more than Martian Manhunter is Mr. Biscuits. And that's just because he's a weird space monster called Mr. Biscuits that's obsessed with cookies. I mean, how can you not love that character? Yeah. So then I chose Mira.
Oh, cool.
and the reason for that, when I say I chose, my wife and I talked about this. So this is kind of our super team. But so Mira, like water and kind of goes along with John's weakness, it's like
right.
If there is fire around, she'll
put him out.
Can that. And then Batman's replacement always should be Dick Grayson. I think he's a better Batman than Batman. I do. I think he's a better leader. I think he's a better person. I just think I don't know, man.
I like it better as well. I debated some members of the Bat family, but I thought stay away from the Bat family.
I honestly debated Solomon Grundy. And In the Shade, and all sorts of characters like that. But ultimately, while I was sitting right here, I came up with my three.
We came up with it. We talked for about 5 minutes about it, and we're just shooting the ideas around or whatever. But I don't know, man. I think Nightwing and Mira and John would make a really cool team up, even if it was like just to get the original Trinity out of some trouble or something. Just do an issue, a little one-off. That would be fun. Not that anyone from DC will ever actually listen to us and do that, but they should.
Yeah.
So other than that, we are going to be doing a History of Comics podcast. When are we doing that, Ian? Early January.
Yeah, beginning of January.
Yeah, so we're recording it in the first week of January, I think
so.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to drop it like on the 15th of every month then is when we'll do it. First episode we're covering what years? 19.
Basically the 40s plus 1938 and 39, because that was when comics first started kicking off. So we're hopefully going to go decade by decade for as much as it allows us to. But this time will be the end of the 30s and the 40s.
Okay, so we'll be doing just basically. We're going to be... I thought we were doing like 20 years on that first episode. Is that right? Or are we
the 30s in general are very small.
Yeah. There's not much to cover.
Yeah. You can say we're doing the 30s and the 40s, but the 30s only really happened in 38 and 39.
Okay, it's mostly the 40s.
Yeah, with a few things before that.
Right.
So, yep. Right. Okay, so we're going to go decade by decade. So episode 1 is going to be like late 30s, like 38, 39, and then the 40s. Episode 2 will be the 50s, and so on and so forth. We may do some specialized episodes once we get into it where we focus on McCarthyism, or we focus on civil rights, or I don't know. Like you get into it and you realize there's just so many social implications and so much cool stuff. Man, it's
I'm seeing the 60s as being a multi-episode.
Yeah.
Just because so much happened in the 60s. I mean, that's where you had DC going through its original rebirth, and you had Marvel coming into their own, and you have the civil rights movement, which is driving a lot of that. I think that's going to be a really exciting one. A lot of fun.
Yeah. I agree, man. It's from everything I've done, and my dad bought me that book up there. Noah's seen it, but it's a big book.
The giant encyclopedia.
I think you could kill someone with that.
I do believe that you could kill someone with that book. So thank you, Dad, for the murder weapon. And it's seriously though. I guess it's really interesting because he did research on it and was like, yeah, that's the best comic book history book that exists that's in print right now. And he because I told him what we were doing, and he did a lot of research and really found the best type of book that you can find for something like that. So I've already gotten into it a little bit. We'll have to pull it out here after the show and take a look. So other than that, I'm trying to think if I have anything else. Do you guys have anything else on this issue as a whole, or anything for DC as a whole?
Oh, Nope, I don't think so. Like I said earlier, though, if you're a fan of any of the big three, pick up this book. It's good. It's just getting started, and
Yeah,
read it.
Yeah, and if you're behind on the Rebirth stuff, the big three, their individual book trades start coming out next month. So
they do.
Yep, there you go.
So and I think each one of them has one book or two next month. So
Yeah, they're bi-weekly.
which
and-
is a really good way to get caught up and read a whole story arc.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah,
And all of their stuff has been phenomenal for those three.
And actually, there's a couple new interesting DC products out now too. There's the Rebirth Compendium out, which is like all the DC Universe Rebirth #1 shots. Like they threw all of those into a compendium. I want it really bad. It's like $75 or something,
Yeah.
but I probably will own it at some point in my life. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like it's just fun to read all those one shots front to back. And then DC Universe Rebirth #1 obviously is out in a hardback right now, which is kind of nice. So for all those Larfleeze like people out there that like to collect stuff, pick that up.
Yeah, and if you're reading New 52 and you've been reading it in trade, the last trade of each of the New 52 books, if there is a Rebirth book for that trade or for that to swap over, it will include the Rebirth one shot. And they're supposed to have the #1, so you can kind of get a feel for a Rebirth if you've been reading New 52.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I think we're about to start getting some answers on Rebirth as a whole too. I think that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Justice League Suicide Squad. I'm seeing we're going to start getting answers in there, especially with the lineup of villains.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I read about that in the DC Direct Current magazine, so I think there's some interesting stuff coming out on that. Yeah, actually, we can talk about that too now. But yeah, I was thinking that this was not coming out till when it was, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this comes out on Wednesday. So, all right, cool. Well, if you want to find us, you can do so at Nerd Church Radio everywhere. Just nerdchurchradio.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media junk. If you want to find me anywhere, I'm Ben Dupey. That's BenDupey. And you can reach me at nerdchurchradio@gmail.com. Noah, where can we find you?
You can catch me on Facebook /Noah O'Toole.
Okay, and Justin, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Deadlander18.
Nice. Is that new, or have you had that?
No, I've had that.
You've had that? Okay,
I don't
cool.
use it that often, but
Yeah, I don't, except for
but it's the easier way to find me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so, okay, cool. Well, if that's all we have, then I will say peace be with you,
And also with you.
and have a great week, everyone.